Today's topic is going to be really talking about the policy on the treatment of transgender and gender expansive students. So therefore, we embrace our diverse students and families, and together we value antiracism, bilingualism, and multiculturalism. I'll let DeHaven talk about how she wants to talk about our session and how she wants to have that be engaging. So,
Cindy, can I jump in really quickly if you can hear me?
Yes, yeah.
So sorry to interrupt you.
No, not at all.
I do not mean to speak for you, DeHaven, so please correct me. I want to be sure that I believe that DeHaven prefers to refer to as they. If I'm looking at
Thank you very much.
If I'm wrong about that, DeHaven, I am so sorry, but I just wanted to jump in and make sure I said that.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for correcting me. And yes, DeHaven, I'm very sorry as I'm learning along that, but thank you. That's really important. That's a great model of what we're talking about, is that, yes, I can see now because you're showing up on my screen, your preferred pronouns are they, them. So
I've met folks in trainings where people have literally come up to me and be like, hey, at the start of this training, I was an absolute hater. I was not okay with anything LGBTQ. And now I feel like I'm tolerant. I'm like, great, thank you. Thank you for sharing. We're all on a journey together. Someone who is non-binary essentially is anyone who feels their gender identity does not fit into the boxes of man, woman, boy, girl. Again, very, very broad. So with non-binary, this could be someone who feels like they don't fit into those binary boxes, right? Maybe feel like they're floating in between. So you might see youth who start the day saying, hey, my pronouns are he, him. By the end of the day, I'm feeling more feminine, so she, her. Or maybe I'm feeling like I'm a combination of both. And I'm sort of creating my own experience. But what I love about the label of non-binary and they, them is I get to create my own brand, my own vibe of what I call Masculinity 2.0. I get to sort of find this balance of being able to be this wannabe surfer dude and then have a girls' night with my wife as we eat pizza and watch Gilmore Girls and Grey's Anatomy. I needed their legal name though for the plane ticket as we were taking them on this trip. And they were telling me that their grandparents only call them by their legal name and that the grandparents never use their chosen name. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like your grandparents are forcing this version of you onto you. Binders of rest implants, this would be more so at the probably middle school, high school level. But if you have a youth just in your life who asks, binders are essentially really, really intense sports bras where they just flatten breast tissue to create the illusion of a more masculine chest. Breast implants, if you just wear any sort of training bra, regular bra, you can just get these foam inserts, silicone inserts that you just put into the bra to create the illusion of a more fuller chest. Totally safe to use, but it can be a very powerful tool to help. So one of the most powerful things we can do just right out of the gate is to create that pause by asking, hey, what are your pronouns? Or I share my pronouns, or I have a sign in my office, or an announcement on my dry erase board in my classroom. But anything to just create this dialogue, this conversation where I'm trying to just honor my students and give space for things to expand. If you're working with tiny humans, is there a way you can even make it a game? So we start the day with this bizarre pronoun game because you're a ridiculously creative teacher and you came up with a way to ask youth their pronouns in a fun and engaging way where they can move and get the wigglies out, and then we can start the day. If you have a student who we're reading is to be a boy, but loves to wear princess dresses, just loves it, makes his heart sing. It's okay, can I give this child space to just exist and present in this way? And it's yes, you are Elsa. Let's sing Frozen and dance it out and like, tell me about your dress. Like, let's just like run with it. So a lot of times when I go to schools, as we visit like gender sexuality alliances, things like that, when I visit schools, I see a lot of white students, even in schools that dominantly serve Black and brown students, because again, I have that privilege and that protection to say, this is how I identify, right? And I see a lot of particularly white trans students or white non-binary but masculine presenting students. Because again, is it safer for me to say this versus if I'm a young brown trans girl? We get asked a lot kind of how young is too young, and the research shows that between 3 to 4 years old, youth have a pretty solid understanding of who they are. Like, this is my gender, right? If you are working with tiny humans, right, like at the elementary level, what this is going to look like is exploration, is play, is I'm using language and names and different things like that to try to communicate.
I was wondering, because one thing that I've dealt with, and maybe other teachers have as well, is being in an elementary school where students might feel comfortable expressing themselves at school in a way that they're not comfortable at home.
Yes.
That maybe have anxiety or concern about, I want to be identifying this way, but I don't want mom to know about it.
Thank you for the question. I think it's very important and relevant. And Marcy put in the chat as well, struggling with how do we balance at home and school? And the policy is very clear on this. And DeHaven, I think you're exactly right. Right now, we're honoring and affirming in class. And it may be fluid in class, and we go along with that. But really here, and I'm going to read from the policy, it says, some gender expansive students have not yet talked to their parents about their gender identity or do not want their parents to know about their gender expansive status based on safety concerns or fear about lack of acceptance. And so the first conversation is case by case. It's talking with the child in class, it's talking with us, it's talking with the counselors, and then we'll talk about that on a case by case basis. But the policy is very clear that, we honor pronouns, names, that fluidity in school, and involve the families when the child is ready, when we have that conversation.
I just have a big boundary between affirmation and encouragement that I'm finding. I just am so comfortable with affirmation. Yeah. I'm finding there begins to be a blur for me with encouragement, and that makes me very uncomfortable as a parent. And because I have boundaries for my family, and I would want to know what's going on with my children, and the same way I wouldn't encourage mask wearing or not wearing, I'm just finding this, religion, not religion, this boundary, and what exactly does affirmation look like versus encouragement?
To me, affirmation is I'm following the youth's lead and just kind of seeing where are they going, versus to me, encouragement. Like, I've also seen it almost where it's like folks are sort of forcing like boys to play with dolls or girls to play with Hot Wheels. It's like, let's just like see where that natural interest is, but I'm just giving the space and the permission to let youth explore like what they're sort of naturally curious about. Again, I'm just trying to naturally push them to always expand and question, is this right? Is this my truth? Unfortunately, a lot of times if you got on like Instagram, for example, you're gonna see me. You're gonna see white, poofy hair and all of this. And what that does is it creates this whitewashing, this erasure of all of the diversity that exists within this massive LGBTQ community. For example, if you're going to ask pronouns, don't ask someone their pronouns because you think they identify as part of the community, right? I'm asking everyone their pronouns because I can be a person of color and identify. I can be in a rural community and identify. I can be rich, able-bodied, religious, spiritual. All of these different elements come together and exist within the LGBTQ community. Rates of youth kind of exploring and being like more gender expansive and not following traditional gender norms, I think that's just going to increase as gender is literally being reconstructed in real time, right? Like Gen Z's understanding of gender is so different than millennials, than Gen X, and it's just changing so quickly.
We have a child in kindergarten that right now he puts dresses on and little bows, and he's so cute though. And then and I don't know how to refer. My granddaughter's in the same class, and she says, well, first she said he's a half boy, half girl. And then she says, no, he wants to, he wants to be called a she. And I have a hard time referring to the child. Do I just say she? Do I say he? Do I say they? Them? Because I don't want to insult anybody.
Like just asking, like, and I know that can feel so weird. It's like I'm asking a 5-year-old, but it could just be make so simple. Like, hey, like, I know you by this name. Is there another name you want me to call you? It's like, oh yeah.